So a few weeks ago, this particular video of a refrigerator from 1963 was making the rounds on Elon Musk's website, formerly known as Twitter. Apparently, a lot of people were impressed by this appliance, especially when it's revealed that the refrigerator only cost $475 in the summer of 1963. $497 when you include the ice maker. One person who posted the video suggested that capitalism does not breed innovation, that they're just cheaply made so that they have to be replaced every few years. And yet, according to this piece from Forbes, citing the United States Department of Energy, the average lifespan of a refrigerator is about 12 years. And I've seen similar figures from sources like Angie's List, Bob Vila, and Reader's Digest. And I don't know about you guys, but I'm inclined to believe this because I currently own a refrigerator that is well over 10 years old and it's running rather fine at the moment. Conservative commentators like Elijah Schaffer and Matt Walsh also chimed in on this video, with Matt Walsh saying,
"Like everything else, appliances today are far more expensive, far less useful, and far less durable."
So appliances today are more expensive.
Okay, you expect me to believe that load of crap?
As many pointed out in response to these posts, this beloved $497 refrigerator would be roughly $5,000 today when you adjust for inflation. Economist Jeremy Horpdahl broke this down in terms of cost of hours worked on the average wage, showing that the average worker would have to work far fewer hours today to afford a refrigerator when compared to 1963. And when we look at this 1963 Sears catalog, we can find 14 cubic feet fridges for $220, which would be roughly $2,200 in 2024. Today, you can find 18 cubic foot refrigerators for between $600 and $650 at places like Lowe's. And when you break this down in terms of percentage of median family income and median personal income, refrigerators today are far more affordable than they were 60 years ago. So I don't know what the hell people are talking about when they say that appliances are more expensive today. But I guess a lot of people have this grass was greener yesterday mentality. Just the other day on Elon Musk's website, Wall Street Silver reported how back in 1986, you could get 3 Whoppers and 2 fries and 2 ice creams at Burger King for the low price of $8.39, reminding us all to never forget what they took from us. But as Jeremy Horpdahl, Noam Bloom, and Liberal Caucus all noted, when you factor in both inflation and the amount of hours you would have to work to afford the food, Burger King is actually more affordable today than it was in the good old days of 1986. Yeah, guys, remember what they took from you, which was apparently slightly less affordable food or something. Although those Burger King Kids Club characters were kind of cool. Then there was this post from a few weeks ago, glorifying the good old days of 1950s Detroit, where a Ford assembly worker could afford this house and this automobile and this family all on one income. This is a topic that I've talked about in depth before, about how overblown the economic conditions of the 1950s were and how underappreciated many aspects of life today are. And even some pointed out in response to this post that houses like this in the city of Detroit are rather cheap today, which is true, at least according to Redfin. The median price for houses sold in Detroit as of December 2023 was roughly $80,000, which is roughly 1/3 the median price of the rest of the state of Michigan. So maybe Detroit was not the best city to make this point. Oops. This does not mention the fact that Ford workers in Detroit got a pretty nice raise late last year. According to reports from the Ford UAW agreement late in 2023, Ford workers will now earn between $25 and $35 an hour, which will increase to as much as $40 an hour by the end of the new labor agreement, which should make it easier for Ford workers to afford a house in the Detroit area, but still a little little challenging outside of the city of Detroit and the handful of the city's more affordable suburbs, considering that the median price of houses sold in Michigan was $231,000 as of December 2023, which was even higher during the summer months of 2023, along with the fact that mortgage interest rates are between 7 and 8% right now. Might also be worth noting that this is more of a recent trend, at least in the state of Michigan. The median price for houses sold in Michigan back in 2018 was as little as $167,000, not to mention the lower interest rates on mortgages back in 2018. So yes, to be clear, being a first-time homebuyer sure does suck right now.
It certainly does suck.
But it's also not like nobody got in on the housing market before prices and interest rates went too crazy. And I'm sure that the ones who were lucky enough to do so are living much better lives than families did during the good old days of the 1950s. And for as shitty as the housing market is right now, it might also be worth noting that the home ownership rate in the United States is higher than it was during the beloved 1950s and 1960s. Anyway, let's bring this back to appliances. Keep in mind that Matt Walsh makes his hot take about all appliances, not just refrigerators. So let's talk about other appliances like microwave ovens, which were largely unavailable for residential use during this period. According to Panasonic, the company did not even launch its first model until 1966. And just look at this behemoth of a microwave. Would any of you folks out there want this bad boy clogging up your kitchen?
No, of course not.
Panasonic also mentions how such appliances cost thousands of dollars during the 1950s. And according to this article from North Dakota State University, Amana did not even launch their first microwave until 1967 for the low price of $500, which would be roughly $4,600 when you adjust for inflation. And in 2024, you can find an Amana microwave for around $200, and you can find a Panasonic model for under $200. And if you're really trying to pinch pennies, Walmart has microwaves for as little as $55. Air conditioners are another appliance that have come a long way since the 1960s. This 1963 Sears catalog has air conditioning units for as little as $170, which would be roughly 2.7% of the median family income in 1963 and about $1,700 in 2024 when you adjust for inflation. And today, just 60 years later, you can find air conditioning units for under $200. Although it looks like most units go between $400 and $600 at places like Home Depot and Lowe's, and would be less than 1% of the median family income today. On top of that, according to this report from the US Census, the percentage of homes with central air conditioning nearly doubled since the 1960s, going from about 45% in the 1960s to 88% by 2009, which one could argue is even more impressive when you consider the massive population growth in the United States. We also see a similar trend with dishwashers, which went from 46% in the 1960s to 93% by 2009. So this might be worth remembering next time you see some asshat trying to tell you that appliances are more expensive today or that capitalism does not breed innovation or some hogwash.
That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard, dude.
And other appliances like washers, dryers, and stoves have become more affordable since the 1960s when you factor in inflation and cost as a percentage of income. Speaking of stoves, you would think that with Matt Walsh's disdain for modern appliances that he would not be so passionate about regulators coming for his beloved gas stove. I think it's also worth noting that appliances would be even more affordable and available to the public if not for the efforts of economic planners. One notable example being Trump-era tariffs resulting in companies like LG raising the price on washing machines for consumers.
You absolutely suck!
And if economic planners in states like New York and California ever get their way with their attempts to ban natural gas appliances and their attempts to ban natural gas in new housing developments, all in effort to save the world from climate change, then consumers in states like New York and California will be left with even fewer options and likely higher prices.
That's just not smart.
Anyway, what do you guys think? Are appliances today shittier and less affordable than they were during the 1960s? Is the US economy all doom and gloom these days? Was the grass really greener in the past? Let me know in the comment section down below.